So the game plan for today is to first talk a little bit about your experience and some of the obstacle you might have been facing and some of the frustrating or rewarding aspects of your experience editing Wikipedia. And then we'll go into visualizations, starting with one tool that Wikipedia has to offer, and that is very simple. And if time allows, Brennan will show us another one.
Yeah.
Anything I'm missing?
No, that sounds awesome. I mean, it's cool to see people editing the timeline and dashboard and stuff. It looks really awesome. And we'll just keep collecting stats over the course of the rest of the month. I saw in the Discord, like Danny and Anna, or maybe someone else was like, this is addicting, this is fun. So if you just like keep editing, these things will keep, the stats will keep growing, which is cool. But yeah, we would love to hear about the experience that you all had, what pages you edited, why, how, what obstacles you encountered, any of that stuff.
We're really shining, you and I, by our absence of edits. Our two accounts are the ones who didn't do the homework. But we were too busy preparing for today. But yeah. You guys, how was your... Rebecca, you were already starting to share that you thought it was rewarding. Hi, welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I started, I didn't really know what to edit, and then I just went back to the page that had been assigned to me, which was urban forestry. And I sort of looked through it and I was like, oh, the ordering is a bit strange. But when I'd had that first thought, I didn't follow up that thought with, oh, I can change it. It was just more of a, oh, this ordering is kind of strange. And then I actually wanted to add a paragraph on South Africa because I just noticed that there was so little mention of any sort of non-European, non-Western cities. So I then went on this whole academic research path of trying to understand what urban forestry is in South Africa, which made me realize or almost appreciate how much time goes into writing a Wikipedia article. You're not just sucking out information. At least I wasn't trying to. I was trying to legitimately add sort of sourced information, cited information. And then when I wanted to add South Africa, I was like, oh, but this ordering is just terrible. And then I reordered the whole page, and it was so satisfying.
Yeah, this is insane. I'm looking at it now on my computer, but I kind of think if we could just show everyone because it's pretty amazing. How do can we do that?
Brendan, is there any way? Do you want to share screen on your computer, or I don't know technically what you guys are?
Oh yeah, or Rebecca, you could totally do it. But I was just doing it on a different computer. If I pull up the page, I can. You
can just present Chrome tab, so we don't.
Ooh.
Or so you don't have to share the whole screen. You could still see us too.
Okay, one second. Let us try to find it.
I guess becoming less rewarding for me because my changes getting reversed. I see right now.
Oh, really? So it sort of gets accepted and then reversed.
Yeah, somebody comes back right now. I see.
What was reversed?
Basically, there's been ongoing clash between big Russian culture versus small Ukrainian culture, where a bigger culture absorbs the artist of a small culture usually, and it's very hard to prove. But I guess I can keep going. So I changed a bunch of artists to be Ukrainian, because they were born in Ukraine, they worked in Ukraine, and I selected which ones. There were a lot of kind of back and forth in my head. So the ones who, some of them work and lived in both countries, but propagated, were inspired, were born. So I was trying to change them. And Ukrainian Wikipedia says that they're Ukrainian. It's just Russian and English Wikipedia doesn't want to accept it.
You changed Tatlin, Alexandra Exter.
I changed mainly Malevich, he's totally Ukrainian. He was born there. Yeah. but it changed back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Click on one of the articles. I'm kind of keen, like, to see it. I don't know, see the change, even see where this information was listed.
So here it says Russian, and then if we look at the history
But it says born.
in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
can only see a paper space inside. We can't see the actual page on your shared screen.
you can click right at you can show the
really?
page.
Here. How do I switch that? Oh man, I'm too slow. Computer exploding. Need ice pack.
It sounds like we're literally placing facts under the.
How do we switch one more?
Okay, you go to stop presenting, and then you go to try again. Okay.
No.
Okay. So now I want to present. Let's do entire screen. I think it's easier because it allows us to tab as we wish. Oh, I gotta authorize it again? That's bizarre. There we go.
Oh no.
Oh.
Should I share? I can share my screen and go over there.
Yeah,
Better.
maybe.
We had too many problems. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Rebecca.
You can see this.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like, but my window's a bit smaller because I'm trying to look at both. But let's see. So you go to articles, right?
Yeah. Should we look at the Malaysia?
So,
Yeah.
So you changed this.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Well, it changed back. If you see view history, somebody came
This
back.
is so interesting. So
Maybe we should
you
start
changed
If you
changed
click
to Ukraine.
selected revisions, we should be able to see side by side what the battle is about. So that compare selected revisions button, if you click that, Rebecca. Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I attached the birth certificate, and I think they removed the link to birth certificate.
Oh my god.
So this is revision C talk. Now where can I see talk?
Well, you can go to the top page, and you can I'm sure they've left an explanation that advocates that Malevich was Russian, not Ukrainian. So if you
Left, Rebecca?
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing.
You went to the top page of the user, but if you go back one page, and then the tab that's up at the top of this page, yeah,
Okay.
that one. There should be maybe a comment somewhere in here from whoever that editor was.
So I think it's going chronological, so it should be at the very bottom of the page.
Yeah, nationality.
There
Nationality.
We go. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, it was Russian Empire. That's what they're saying, but that doesn't. It's like very weird because Ukraine was Russian Empire for the most time, or other empires for the most time. However, I saw other artists who are like claimed to be like national artists. They're still stated as Ukrainian, even though it was Russian. So I guess I found that information is kind of like vague. There is no like a straight rule that applies to all articles. So I feel like I can still keep arguing that because
I think the one thing that would probably serve you is that the way that this has been written in the talk page, I think is like shooting themselves in the foot, because it's like, really, don't you guys know that like the tone of it is really like feels very personal. So I think that if you or someone else is to come back with a more um yeah, a just less personal tone, that would
Oh
already
yeah.
seem more legitimate.
But even if you check the dates on these edits, you know, this is something that's been debated since at least 2010, right? So there's literally a decade of people saying, no, Malevich is Ukrainian, and then someone saying, no, he's Russian, no, he's Ukrainian. So I do think that...
Now we've got Belarusian or Polish ethnicity.
Nice. In lead-link Russian, okay. So August
What was
13.
the guy you were fighting with? That was yet
So
another.
August 13, the guy saying something.
That's crazy.
But it's also crazy that like whoever reverted it back cares enough. Like there's somebody kind of keeping check, right? If that's how I understand it. Somebody other than Anna who's like going back to this page and making sure to revert it back to Russian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you can go find
Yeah.
their user page. That's where we were before, and you saw their user page was full of like, they had their own index on their user page. So yeah, if we go back to the view history, this user, yeah. So they care about a lot of things, it seems. Mostly like fixing things, right? Like disambiguation links. You know, they want to make sure that...
Sure, look at all of this.
So they're one of these hardcore Wikipedians that care about a lot of stuff. They probably have the Malevich page and many other ones on their watch list, and so you can have Wikipedia notify you, you know, that you're like whenever there's changes to pages you really care about.
Because they didn't change. Yeah, I thought somebody would track my kind of bias or to change all of these artists to Ukrainian, but they didn't touch yet the other ones. Only this one.
Fascinating. What's the name of the artist again?
Malevich. Because Malevich. Malevich.
You know, there's nothing on this page.
Becca, you got to study up on your constructivism.
Yeah.
I spelled it and then I got just worried I was spelling it wrong. Yeah, I mean, I initially had thought that Wikipedia had like a group of people, like 10 people, you know, who decided
who know everything,
who know everything. I mean, sure, now that I understand a little bit more, I realize that that's ridiculous, but it's actually just super interesting. It's almost like the talk pages are in some ways more interesting than the main source pages.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see what people are finding about. Did you
Yeah.
get in your urban forestry?
Yeah, or Rebecca, would you like to show us the history of those edits, the compare and contrast between before and after? I was looking through it before, and like the moving around of the sections looks really kind of fascinating.
So originally, section 4 by country had 4.1 the United States. Then under section 5, which was called urban tree wardens, which I don't even know what they are, had all the other countries. So it meant that the United States had this like significant sort of presence on the page, and then all the other countries were kind of pushed towards the end. And they didn't, I mean, I read what the countries were writing about, or what the paragraphs were saying, and it had nothing to do with urban tree wardens. Besides maybe the United Kingdom, but it wasn't such a clear link that it should have been sort of organized under that subheading. So then I shifted all the countries into this section, and I also categorized them according to their alphabetical order, which meant that the United States, which was at the top, became last in the list. And then because I felt like there were no African countries on the list, I inserted a paragraph on South Africa. Let's see if it stays. But then I also noticed this, which I've seen on Wikipedia pages before, but I've never really looked at them. I didn't really know what they were. And I then kind of noticed how there was this sort of notification about how there's a recognition that this page is a bit shit. And there's this article has multiple issues. And then this is what sort of struck me as interesting. The examples and perspectives in this article deal primarily with the United States and do not represent a worldview of the subject. And that was exactly what sort of griped me. And I only saw this after I had done all of this. So I was sort of like, cool, maybe I am on the same page. And although my article, this, which I added here, like, although it's it's not fantastic, I didn't really care because I just wanted South Africa to be represented. And it is like legitimate and it has like a citation. It's basically just a rephrased little section from an article that I was reading. And it doesn't necessarily fit into the sort of the rest of the tone. But I feel like I've left it there and then maybe somebody could edit it, or if it gets deleted, maybe it could be replaced. So maybe just like putting South Africa here means that to delete it all is a little bit harder, perhaps. I don't know. Anyways, that was my edit, which was fascinating to me. And it was just like really crazy how you can cut whole sections and then just move them up. I think, Lucy, you deleted sections. I didn't even really consider that that was an option.
The United States to fix the problem by making it opposite.
I think.
I mean, it has so much text, but it's boring text. I don't even know what it's talking about. But now it comes last, and Brazil is first.
I think you were lagging.
Brazil leading the Wikipedia page on urban forestry. I don't know if that makes it any better.
Well, no, it's not necessarily. I mean, what does it say? I don't even know what the Brazil section says. A pioneer city in conservationist efforts. This is not cited at all, which is quite funny.
That's a problem. Yeah, that was probably part of the things that were flagged at the top, no?
Wow. So that was, I kind of had to stop myself. I then just wanted to go onto every page and restructure it. Because I really love editing. I hate writing, but I also like made all the headings the same because some of them were bigger. Some of them.
That's so cool.
I think it's a really interesting contrast between the Rebecca and the Anna problems, where one, there's this like hotly contested ongoing debate for decades probably about, a single word really like that has a lot of meaning as someone's country of origin. And then the Rebecca page where like there are these large changes that are needed for an entire kind of category, a worldwide phenomenon. And, since 2014, it looks like some of those notes people have been saying like we should really update the page. And I think it's like such a kind of fascinating contrast there between like a kind of surgical and hotly contested thing, and then a big kind of structural change that's probably going to evolve, but over a much longer time period. I think that's fascinating to look at the timeline of the way that sharing this information evolves.
But I think what's also interesting is that both of you seem to have a shared endeavor of like complexifying the like mainstream history or the oversimplified narrative of the dominating national identity, either it being the US or Russia, and complexifying it with more details or with other countries. But with this kind of similar endeavor, you took completely different approach. One that is focused on the content, and one that is focused on the structure, right? I mean, both.
Also contact, yeah.
Yeah.
For Rebecca.
Not that they both, of course, they both include each other, but still the approach is one is more structural and the other one is more on the content of, or more technical, let's say.
But I wonder too if there. I don't know this, but it would be my guess that there are less architects represented on Wikipedia as editors than there are other things like computer scientists
Archivists,
or archivists and
librarians.
stuff. And I do think that there's probably architects bring this awareness about space and place that would be, that's probably why you two are so perfectly equipped to notice these glaring errors and seek to remediate them, where other people, I don't know, they're probably less aware of the kind of spatial position of information or how information relates to space and place. So that's a fascinating thing to see too.
Yeah, that's true. We both sort of thought about location.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask a different approach of deleting stuff, cleaning up. Do you wanna share a little bit about that approach?
Yeah, I mostly deleted from a section on the University of Utah page about renewable energy because I was kind of active in like the sustainability efforts when I went there, and already on campus, there's just so much that people don't know is happening with sustainability. So there was a lot of out-of-date information about like contracts for renewable energy that the university entered into like 10 years ago and then they never panned out, or like, yeah, different efforts that were planned and didn't happen, or rankings that the university doesn't have anymore. Like the university 10 years ago ranked 3rd or something in sustainability and it isn't 3rd anymore. And I feel like that's important information. Like it was just all incorrect. So I deleted that section after I like wrote a new section with more up-to-date information.
I thanked you.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't know you could do that either. I'm trying to find the edit. Like, how do I look at the edit? Do I click here?
Or if you do the compare selected revisions, we should be able to see highlighted sections of everything that Lucy changed.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Removed public universities and colleges. No, so here, where?
Just that box at the top. So Lucy, is your handle favorite fruit or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in this one, you switched.
Yeah, that was just a link I updated.
Maybe you made some other revisions right before that too, and this is like you did this one and updated it. So Rebecca, if we go
back. That was
back.
the most recent one.
Cool.
Oh yeah, if we select more.
Yeah, I don't know if there are other ones somewhere in here that we can find, but it also. Oh, yeah, I don't know.
It's the same one.
Interesting. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't quite know how to navigate this thing correctly. But
no, thank you.
Yeah, I learned from you, Lucy, because you wrote, "Oh, I deleted something." I deleted something, and I didn't say I deleted. I just said I changed. I did. Actually, quite proud of this one. It's let's see. The name is number 4, Bursera graveolens. It's a polysanthus species that, it's a polysanthus species that were considered endangered, but I actually found that there is a confusion in the Red Book, and the species is not endangered, and I updated conservation thing. It's still, nobody corrected it back.
That's cool. But
I did.
What led you to do that? Like, what inspired you?
Oh, I saw this Times magazine article, but then I went to the Red Book and checked the species, and I see basically what they said in 2020 the species were considered endangered, but to my knowledge in 2020 I saw that it's stable. And it's like a big discussion in the community because everyone is like, you this Whole Foods keep selling this polysanthus endangers. You guys are thinking you're doing like spiritual burning, but you're actually killing the species, but you're not. It's okay.
Interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, I know there's a lot of debate about endangered species, right? Because and putting them on list and removing them from the list. So that's interesting. That's like what you read that inspired you.
Hi, Crossfire.
I was gonna ask Michelle, Jen, Danny, Nick, you guys wanna share a little bit about your experience? Do you have anything that surprised you or that you'd like to share, Kelsey, as well?
I haven't done any editing yet or changing. I've done a lot of reading, but I think I have like an intimidation thing, but it looks so satisfying to edit, and seeing everyone else's edits is really inspiring, and I'm like, okay, it's not that hard. I can do it. But I read a lot. I just like played, I guess you could say, but I think like actively engaging is editing, because I did see a lot of things that I thought, oh, I know more about that than this, or it doesn't include this, or but I think I kind of got stuck in the side of just reading, but now seeing everyone's edits, it's like, oh, okay, if you do something and it's not right, someone's just going to say it's wrong. It's not a big deal. But it kind of felt like a big deal to me before, but I guess.
I think the graph that Brendan was showing yesterday, Wednesday, when there's like this pause of blackness because an entire article was deleted, and then immediately comes back to exactly how it was. It's kind of reassuring that if you wanted to go ahead and like erase an entire page, thanks to the history function of the page, nothing is lost. I feel like I have these like anxious memories of before the Control Z option on your computer, where you couldn't go back, right? And if you deleted a paragraph in Word or whatever, there was no going back. But that's not the case with Wikipedia. So I found that's very reassuring. When I feel intimidated, I'm like, well, worst case scenario, it will live on the. If I did something really incorrect, worst case scenario, it will live on the encyclopedia for like 22 minutes, right, before someone flags me. So, or hopefully helps me and fix it. So, yeah, I think it's like, especially when you feel like they're saying that you know more than what's included, is a really good reason to share input.
One thing that I've found when doing Wikipedia edits is like a sense of intimidation about the scale of information that's on the internet and where to start, right? Like, because it all seems connected and amorphous, and you could insert anywhere at any scale or any resolution. Any page could use more detail about anything, basically. And so one way I've combated that is by doing this, like doing it in a group, and just knowing that there's this kind of window of time that I can do something and I don't get so stuck. The other thing I've done in the past is like, I just hate the idea of adding something to Wikipedia and then having someone else removing it. I mean, it just like pains me, not because like I feel like my work is lost, but I feel like that I am then have not been neutral enough, been considered enough to have like a neutral frame of reference and provide something that everyone thinks is valuable. So one thing that I've done is like frequently when we do these edit-a-thons, I just limit myself to like a really routine task that seems like it's very likely to be approved, which is just adding 10 projects to an architect's page, like incontrovertible facts, like this is the project, this is where it was, this is when it was built, and here's the source that says that. And I just try to get through as many as possible. It's probably like very I like behave like an algorithm, and it's probably like very boring to witness, but I actually have like a great sense of pleasure when I'm at the end and I can count how many little links I've added onto Wikipedia. But yeah, so I guess that is to say, no, I mean, I have both been there with you, Michelle, and like we're glad you're engaging the content. And if you want to jump into editing it at any time, we hope you now have some familiarity with doing it and you can jump that hurdle.
I think engaging is editing, or it is adding. Because when I'm reading, I guess that's engaging because I'm reading, but
I think it's really interesting to see how we each have a different approach
Totally.
of what we want to do. Like Rebecca, who's attacking the structure, Anna, who's like more like nitpicky about like the details that are contested, Brennan, who puts lists. I love to delegate. I just create red links. I'm like, someone should write this paragraph. Someone should do this. Someone like, yeah, I like to delegate, not to say that I'm lazy.
No, but you're really good. Like one of the first articles I saw in Noemi was just a list article for California female architects, and it was like Northern California and Southern California, and we did it at an editathon, and we added like 5 names to each part of the list, and we came back the next day, and this thing had like blown up. Someone else,
did the
several
work.
other people just jumped in and were like, this is crazy, why hasn't this existed? And now it's like a kind of a pretty extensive page. But I think that, yeah, you're totally right, Naomi. There's so many different strategies, and finding the one that works for you or trying 1 or 2, and it's I think, the way to go. Were there does Danny or Nick or John or Kelsey, anyone want to share? I assume Danny's the one that went real hard on like eco-anxiety, eco-grief, eco-destruction, eco-despair, eco-retribution, eco-utopia. Tell me when to start.
Yes, that was me. For those who don't know, we're doing a project called the Climate Crisis Hotline, and we're developing it right now. And the project kind of started with this idea that we need to, in order to tackle certain issues, especially if they're related to psychological issues, you need to have words associated to it. You need to give it a language. You need to give it something that people can kind of associate. Oh yeah, that is a feeling that I feel or understand. So I was looking at all the pages that defined what this somewhat new terminology is. I started with solastalgia, which is like melancholia, but related to environmental distress, and then I led to eco-anxiety. And first, I was a little taken aback that like Greta is the first thing you see on eco-anxiety. I mean, I love her, but there's a lot of other youth activists, especially Indigenous youth activists, that are doing the hard work. And so scroll down, Rebecca, because there was a section. It said like it said who it impacts, or yeah, section 6, impact. It said on young people, on climate scientists, and then it said on Indigenous communities, and it was empty. And I found that really weird that the whole section was empty. So I was just like, okay, let me fill this in. So I just went and researched a little bit on the impact of climate anxiety on Indigenous communities and filled some stuff in. So it was nice because I got to add sources, I got to add like links, and then that led me down to solastalgia, where I added all the different words like under see also at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I added a bunch of different links to different types of things. And it's ironic that Paradise is on there because we're also working on a project near Paradise. And then the last thing, I believe it's ecological grief, Rebecca. You can go to that. I was researching this one person. Go down to young people. So it's kind of the same structure, you see. Where it's red, Renee Lertzman. This is someone I was reading about the other day, and it was blank. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to put a page here. But of course, there's no page on her. So I did that, it turned red, and then I was like, maybe I should make a page. And then I looked at how to make a page and all the things you have to do, and I got a little overwhelmed and stopped there.
Did you put in the red link, or was it already there?
I put in the red link, yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a great start.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
that's cool. I think
Yeah,
you should watch it, because hopefully someone will see the page sometime soon.
I just didn't know, like, you know, because I was taking a lot of things from one source, and I didn't know how often I had to cite it. Like, I cited in the beginning. It's not that one, Rebecca. It's the, if you go back to eco-anxiety. Under indigenous. So like, you know, I cited the first line, and then I was like, but I keep on pulling out things from the same text. So should I cite it again with the same citation, or what? And that's where I didn't really understand how to do it.
I think how you did it is probably like the right way, right? One at the beginning and one at the end of the paragraph, and then 49 is a different source, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, each paragraph is a different source.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
I think that's probably the correct approach.
Okay. Yeah, that was fun. Did I have a typo?
Often exacerbate exiting mental health struggles.
Okay,
Existing.
Rebecca, go change it.
Oh,
Go edit.
Yeah. Also, you could copy right from that article just directly. Just you have to just put in quotes.
Yeah.
If you do too much of a block quote, like it'll often get taken down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can definitely quote some stuff, but especially if you're doing like a large majority of your page is citing only one or two sources and using a lot of block quotes, they'll get flagged for infringing on copyright permission. Basically, get taken down.
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand about Wikipedia, because it is meant to kind of pull, it's just a collection of references kind of collaged together. So, you know, when I read things, the tone changes from one paragraph to the next, and you can tell that a lot of it is just taken verbatim from articles. So I don't know how quoting versus just, I don't know, kind of just copying directly works.
I think it's better.
I'm trying to find who added the Greta image.
Good luck. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
how do I
find the image under Wikimedia.
Oh,
Probably. Oh yeah, you mean who uploaded it or who linked it to the page? Because it might be two different people.
So who linked it to the page, and then I could undo that edit.
You want to undo it? You want to remove her?
I bet that's on someone's watch list to make sure that Greta is everywhere.
It stays up, yeah.
Yeah, because I totally agree. Like, I don't think that she should be the image of eco-anxiety.
I think it's a very fresh article, 2020, March 2020. So it looks like it was created by somebody like her or somebody around her. That's why. But I agree, it's totally contestable, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting, why I wanted to start with this, is because the terminology is fairly new. I think the earliest this has been defined as like 2015. Some of these terms.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of these pages too, Danny, have the kind of ominous top box at the top that say that maybe they should all be merged into one category, right? And that maybe points at their newness, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, then I'm glad that that's there and you're starting to activate the page and participate in that dialogue. You know, I'm sure the longer the pages grow, the less likely they are all to be collapsed back into one term or one page.
Yeah.
What do you find the difference between, like, I don't know, some of these terms to be? Like, what's a meaningful difference between,
Well,
where would you draw
you
the
won't-
line between solastalgia and eco-anxiety?
You wouldn't necessarily combine anxiety and grief into the same article, would you? I mean, it is funny that all of these words just add eco to the front of it. But, you know, I think words like solastalgia are a little more specific because it's a new word that is trying to determine something which, you know, is a mixture of these things. And then I think the pages, eco-anxiety, ecological grief, they're all talking about certain mental states connected to the environmental crisis. But yeah, I don't know. And it's something I think to be further discussed, hopefully, is how we start making a difference or clarifying the difference between these things.
But solastalgia is...
I think the more the merrier.
So you're saying solastalgia is different from anxiety?
Solastalgia is specifically related to kind of the fear of the loss of home or habitat.
Gotcha.
So anxiety is more of a general term to you know, talk about the feelings, but solastalgia is connected to like a specific reason why you have those feelings.
Do you guys want to share other impressions of your process, or are we ready to move into visualization a little more?
I just think I'm going to be using Wikipedia in a very different way as a result of this workshop.
Yeah.
I think I'll be doing two things that I never did in the past. The first is I think that when I sort of frequent a page, I will kind of look at it in a different way. And I will make edits when I see something wrong or when I see something that I could sort of quickly change. And then secondly, I think I'm going to be looking at this talk tab. And yeah, it just, you know, in a way that I just never would have in the past. Actually, I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah. I think like it's really interesting because for I've taught a lot of like introduction classes for either architects or artists, like reading and writing classes, right? Introduction to visual culture, like the first seminar in architecture theory, blah blah blah. Like these type of classes, like college 101, like writing class, in art design and architecture. And the one thing that often is something I inherit from a syllabus, or whenever I bring the students to the library for a workshop. Like Wikipedia is like systematically demonized. Is that a word in English? Yeah. So like it's evil, don't do it, worst thing. And I think like one thing that is really fascinating is how Wikipedia has changed in the last decade, right? And I think it's totally true. Like 10 years ago, like, and don't use Wiki, like, don't even start that. You know, Wikipedia was just very different 10 years ago than it is now. And to this is kind of responding to your part on the about the talk page, Rebecca, is that whenever like the editing process is all fully transparent, right? So whenever you're picking up a book on a shelf, yes, it's gone through like probably peer review, lots of editing, the credential of the publisher, blah blah blah. But whatever decision they had to make, you don't have access. You only get the final product. Whereas if you're curious in Wikipedia, you actually have access to like it's transparent in describing the points of contingent, right? Or debate, right? Whatever's up for debate is accessible to learn about, right? To know. So the biases also are much more transparent, right? like either because you claim that something is lacking, or you see that people are still arguing about the nationality of a figure, or and so on and so forth. So yeah, totally. So all this to say that Wikipedia is a not so bad and a great place to start research, and that the talk page is very rich of information as well, like this.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's also just like clearly a kind of moment in history to question conventions, and especially received conventions. Those things are embedded in history. Obviously, that's like what history is like the winner is telling the story of the thing. And I think Wikipedia is a really fantastic movement to open up those biases, open up those dialogues, and really allow you to engage with information with a kind of critical and constructive point of view. That you can see the talk page, that you can see the edit history, that you can realize that this thing is being shaped, and if that's available to the entire world to potentially contribute to, that's a kind of amazing period in time to be alive in. That is also a segue. Two, there's one thing you can do.
Can I just
can't do with an encyclopedia, which is also look at how people are consuming it. But Danny, if you have something to insert,
just one last question or thought is the sources, because we're you know, when I was looking at how to make a new page or a new article, you know, they said everything should come from solid sources. I don't know the exact terminology that they use, but you know, they're referring to journal articles or published papers or things that still had that sense of gatekeeping in a way. I mean, not to say that scientific peer review publishing is gatekeeping in any sense, but there still is that kind of structure there of you know, it has to kind of pass through a certain level of qualification to be deemed worthy.
Yeah.
So it, you know, it's this place where it is done in order to be safe and protective, but it also in a certain way might keep out other important voices. So I don't know. It's complicated because, you know, I live in Ohio, and there's a lot of conspiracy theorists who try to make up their own sources, like that. You know, there's a sort of like American culture, I think, of that kind of nature of pseudoscience, which is used as a defense in the same system. So I don't know where I'm really going with that, but it's just saying like, you know, I find Wikipedia great because it's open, but it also still connects to very, I think, commonplace forms of peer review. I don't know.
But I think, thanks, Brendan, for this comment, because it gives me like a lot of hope in the history and how I can understand. Because I guess when I came from Ukraine, I was like part of a year of big history, like a revolution thing, and I saw history being created, and then I came back, and everyone been asking me, oh, so what it actually is, and I can tell because I was there, standing there, and I knew while standing on the square, I only knew that I only know my part, but at least I'm there. So. And that's how I started to learn history. I asked the person, oh, you come from this country, so I want a piece from you, which could be, a lot of time is different from the main history. But here with Wikipedia, I kind of see that I could trace things. Yeah, yes, I agree there are biases, there could be wrong information, but I could trace and I could impact in a way.
I mean, there's this really fantastic book called Objectivity by Datsun and Gallison, which traces objectivity, the history of that as a kind of concept, and it looks at more or less the history of science and the ways that things like illustrations and accountability were tied into the construction of objectivity as an idea and separating it from subjectivity. That book really goes back into like the 16th century, maybe at the earliest, and it stops way short of the current moment. And I think that Anna and Danny, you're bringing up really fantastic, like what would be an addendum to that book that would talk about the contemporary period. I do think objectivity is kind of radically being re-altered by, you know, the ways that we can share so much information, and that like publication changes. There's like changes in format that happen over the internet, and there's a lot of things that are still the same. You know, just because something is published by Routledge doesn't mean anyone ever actually looked at it. So it has a dubious place in terms of reliability or objectivity, whereas like some people's personal experiences maybe never find a academic or institutional home, and therefore have not garnered the kind of attention or reliability that they otherwise should have. So yeah, I do think that it would be, anyone who's interested in this, I strongly encourage you to look at that book, and I wonder what other books might be out there or other kind of concepts might be there that help us think about how objectivity continues to change.
And also to be challenged, right? I feel like in history, like since Derrida, there has been a lot of, you know, like objectivity, whose objectivity? Objectivity is just a reflection of power structure, right? Whoever is the dominant power gets to be the objective voice type of. And I think that's more and more explored in many fields, right? And your example of oral history is like one of the best, I think, example to use, Anna, is that by saying that everyday vernacular people's experience become legitimate, it's also contesting the grand narrative of how history has been written, right? And that's absolutely a limitation that Wikipedia has, right? There's no room whatsoever for oral history, personal experience, even original research cannot be uploaded on the encyclopedia at all, right? So,
yeah, but on the other hand, right, like the kinds of articles that exist on Wikipedia are vastly different than if there was a single author or an institutional author, right?
Yeah.
There are people who are like Anna who went through this thing and might be contributing to a Wikipedia page that otherwise would just never be represented in the pages of a history book. So there is this push and pull. There is this kind of tug of war that's going on.
I guess the talk section could be kind of an oral history in a way, right? Because that's opinion, a little bit opinionated, even though it's better if it's not.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Should we try? I mean, I would be excited to show you all too that, yeah, the thing I was saying, my segue was that unlike the encyclopedia you buy on the shelf, in Wikipedia, you can also see how many times these pieces of knowledge are viewed. You can look at that evolve. We'll try screen sharing again and see if it works or if the computer explodes. Let's try. Oh man.
There we go. Are you guys seeing yourself, Meta?
Oh. Okay,
Yes,
cool.
cool.
Okay. Oh. Slowly but surely. So we'll go here and just show you how should we do this? Let's do it like this. We're just going to go to the articles that everyone was looking at and maybe choose something from there and then like look at one page and look at the entire collection and see what we can see on that basis. Easy, but...
Is it too slow?
Super slow. It's like it loads just a spreadsheet.
Do you want to try switching back to yours?
We try.
Okay.
You want to?
Yeah, let's see. So yeah, but why don't we speak to here and share to there?
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna go meta. There will be double us in two places. We will speak here and share on a different device. So we have a computer that has a screen that works and a computer that has a mic that works, but we don't have one fully functional computer. So thanks for bearing with us as we're facing the urgency of updating our hardware. So basically, what we're trying to segue into is visualizing some aspects of Wikipedia, back to that conversation of the fact that it's like very dry and kind of hard to grasp if you have a visual mind, some of this information, right? Um, and you can visualize many things, such as the edits, but there's another thing that you can visualize in Wikipedia that's quite entertaining, is the consumption of the encyclopedia, right? And seeing how pages are being favored and consumed. So we are now into the spreadsheet.
And yeah, we'll just start. Maybe we'll just start with, where did Anna's page start? Sensory design. So we'll go there first. And on any page, if you'd like to see how many times it's viewed, you can go to view history, and someone has built into here under page views a really pretty cool tool. So if you click page views under view history, you can get this chart and it will tell you how many times this thing has been seen. And you can control the range of the dates. So you could say, I want to look at it daily, or I want to look at it monthly. You can control when it starts and stops. So this will go from August. This is basically a year for the sensory design. And it looks like in the summer, people do not care about sensory design of 2020. However, in April, when they were stuck in their apartments or their houses all by themselves, they seemed like they probably really wanted to up the ante and like make their places nicer. What's really cool about this page that has been built by these three Wikipedians down here is that you can also add other pages onto this. So you could kind of compare and contrast several different pages all at one time. I don't remember design, Bauhaus, Germany, Wuppertal. We can add all these things. Design, Bauhaus. What was it? Germany?
Wuppertal, yeah, Germany, Wuppertal.
Wuppertal?
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? Oh,
Wupper the river.
and Morbach.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the last page? Where were you trying to end up?
Morse. That's hard to spell. Morse. No, not this word. Morse. Starts with M.
More. Ba. This one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So cool. So that's like the whole line of that you got from your start page to your termination page, and they're all now graphed. It looks, I guess, not surprisingly, like Germany is the kind of king of that class. Most people were always viewing that page, but Germany got some like, just like sensory design, I guess, got some love during March and April when people were first in lockdown. I wonder if they were thinking like, time to escape, time to get to Germany. The other thing that's cool here is that not only can you see them as a line chart, but you can change the chart type. And so this is the chart this is the type of chart we showed you before, this radial chart. But there's many different kinds of options, from the donut to the bar to the line, et cetera, et cetera. And here is a different way to look and reorganize all the stats associated with that graph. Another cool thing is you can download these as both an image, like this PNG, or you can download the data itself as a CSV file, so a spreadsheet that you can save and work with. It's linked here, permalink, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's.
Can you show the sourdough one? Just because it's funny.
I don't remember. What did we do? We were sitting at a kitchen table making sourdough, and my mother was here, and she was reading a book about Vlad the Impaler. So I don't remember what page we got it between one and the other.
But it doesn't matter.
Oh, this is it. Sourdough, baker's yeast, food, basic needs, enragé, French Revolution, Europe, Vlad the Impaler. And these are the stats, actually, which look like not so much, but here we go. This is the CSV. I went through this page view analysis and ran all of those pages and downloaded it. And the CSV, when you open it up, looks like this. These are all the numbers. Tough to kind of tell what's going on here, but I kind of wanted to show you. This is through Google Sheets. So if you have your CSV file, you store it on Google Drive, you open it in Google Drive. You can also just make charts of your own design inside of Google Sheets. So if you select all of this stuff, for instance, Google makes it pretty easy. You can just go to chart, and there's a fantastic one there that shows us the history of these things going up and down. What we noticed that was kind of funny, actually, I'll switch the chart type just to show you how that works too. It recommends a line chart and has some other charts it recommends here, area chart, column chart, but there's all kinds of options. The most interactive one is this one, the timeline chart. And it allows you to kind of toggle if you're looking at a different range, months, years, etc. And you can actually slide along here and change and interact with this chart as well to see some of the data. What's cool about this chart that we noticed, I spread it out so we can see all of the categories, is that Vlad the Impaler has like a cycle. He has 2 peaks, right? He's this greenish chartreusey line, and one of them, not surprisingly, is the end of October for Halloween, because people want to know about the history of Dracula. and then
we were like, how come people started caring about Vlad the Impaler late January? Like, why? Who cares about Dracula in January? And it's because a movie came out.
Yeah, there was a movie or a TV show about Dracula, so his page got another peak there.
And then here we have COVID outbreak, right? That like right before here is COVID happens. And then what's up? Baker's yeast and sourdough are these 2 peaks, right? People start eating sourdough and reading Wikipedia sourdough like there's no tomorrow. Right?
But there's also a peak in of research about the French Revolution, which we thought, might tap into the sentiment that we're done with this stuff. And that seemed to actually only, French Revolution is this teal line that picks up more and more and more as the Black Lives Matter movement starts happening globally. So people are learning their history to motivate their protest, is our assumption of this stuff. So that's part of, I think Anna had a great question before, which is like, what do we mean by this theme, common monuments? And part of what we meant is that, like, really the things in your daily experience, if you start to zoom in and zoom out of them at different scales and do a little bit of interpretation of what you're seeing, I do think that you can kind of find a lot of global significance of pressing social, cultural, economic kind of things out of even your daily associations. And that's something that happened just with our chart here. I've put actually just a variety of different charts in here. These are all literally made exactly the same way, just to highlight. I'll show you back here. If you just choose the chart style in Google Sheets, you can kind of just click between these things and look at different versions. This is, surprise, surprise, this is the radar chart exactly like we saw online, but you can create it yourself. But there's all kinds of other ways you could look at this too, from horizontal bar charts or stacked 100% charts. This is a timeline, and I just messed around to make the lines thicker. So this stuff is all totally at your disposal, just from going to the page view analysis, typing in your pages, downloading it, and starting to play around with the data yourself. So we didn't know if we should do it all together, but we thought it'd be kind of fun if everyone would go back to this spreadsheet, the one where they made their connection of 7 different items, and then made at least one radial chart and shared it with us and talked to us a little bit about it. We also made a place now on the page here for uploading your files. So if you go back, you can find your articles here under articles. You can go then to one of them, make the kind of radial chart, or just play around, make any chart you want. And when you're done with that, if you would like to upload them, we have a file. We have a folder for your files now sitting on Google Drive, and our example files are in there. So if you want to look at the kind of nuts and bolts of how we made any of our charts from the CSV data, you can totally do that too.
Yeah, so I was gonna send in the chat box the page view link in case you want it.
You could totally go that way too.
Yeah, so you can either follow the link or go into the remind me the path talk page and then page view.
Yeah, I'll just go over one more again. So if you go to the if you are in here, your articles are linked under the spreadsheet articles 1. Everyone's already kind of starting to find it. But whichever page you go to, we'll go to Lucy's starting page. If you go to view history on that page and then page views, that will take you to this page views ToolForge.
And then you
website.
want to be downloading.
But then you type in the rest of your pages. I don't remember what Lucy's were. They were National Register of Historic Places, National Register, etc. That's there, and you can change the chart. I like these radial charts. I think they're really fascinating. You can change here, daily, monthly. It seems like we leave it up to you what time scale you want to look at. The data only goes back to 2015 for this tool, so at max you can look at 5 years. Minimum scale, you can probably look at a couple days. But once you have it set up how you want to chart it or map it, you can download both the image as a PNG and you can download the data itself as a CSV, and all of those things you can just dump into a folder. Maybe we can make a folder for each person now. And you can just drop it in here.
Can you send that link to the folder in the
And
chat?
this link is here on our on the page under file sharing media uploads. But yes, I will also. Okay, cool.
Guys, does that make sense? Do you have questions?
Yeah, it does. It's fascinating to see the relationship between the sourdough French Revolution and whatever the third thing.
If there's a correspondence between how many page views there are and how many edits there are, you know, like we're looking really more at the way people are consuming it, and we also haven't really thought about we haven't thought too much about what it means that we can track how much people view it. Unlike that, we were saying the printed encyclopedia, you know how many copies of the encyclopedia maybe are sold of a physical book, but you don't really know, other than going and looking at someone's encyclopedia and seeing which pages are dirty. You have no idea how much time they're spending with each segment or each territory.
But you can see can you see like all the articles that being changed today, or like the most popular, like?
No. I have no idea.
Like the top views?
For example, before the election, I want to come and change a set of articles for my own purpose. Can somebody track that somebody did that?
I don't know.
There's the top 10 of the most active editors, but I don't know if there's a top 10. I'll look into it maybe while you guys do the chart. But yeah, that's a really good question. What are the most popular? I think like for sure they respond to like political events, but sometimes they're also like quite surprising. I know I was doing the thread between like Labrador Retriever and I can't remember what else, but it was going through all these like really important pages about climate and biology, and all of them together had like 10% of how much views the Labrador dog page gets every day. So I kind of imagine that there's like hordes of middle schoolers that are doing like show and tell on Labrador and using Wikipedia to prepare every day or something. But yeah, I'll look into it, Anna. That's a good question.
I just did it now. I just put all my list in, and like strawberries skew the graph so significantly that everything else just becomes like a line at the bottom. But strawberries also significantly peak by like 1 million views, from less than 100,000 views to 1 million views in October 2019. What happened in October 2019?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's not even the strawberry season. It'd be worth like looking into. Maybe there was a strawberry shortage or something. But that's how we found out about the movie about Dracula in January. It's like you have these peaks and you're like, what's up here?
Can I ask real quick who Future Primeval is? Okay, I just saw we have a new editor.
Yeah, it's me. I took the Wikipedia recommendation to choose an anonymous name, so. I made one small citation. That's all I got into with my adventure with liminality, but the article assignment was spot on for me. So thank you.
A very deep citation, I have to say. The
Awesome.
qualitative bounding of quantitatively unbounded phenomena.
The article is a total mess. I was really confused by the structure, but I didn't have the time to really get into the overall structure of the article. That was my takeaway. I was like, it was sort of a messy, abstract topic with weird citations and stuff, but it was interesting. So I just tried to dip my toes in with one tiny citation.
Which citation did you add?
It's I have so many tabs open right now. It was under the section of liminality and time, and there was a header in the section that said that the section needed citations. It needed additional citations, so I thought I'd add one.
Rebecca, according to my quick research, the planting season for strawberries is October. So if you want to have them early summer, you should plant them in October. And article saying like now it's time to plant your strawberries in October. That might explain the peak that you noticed.
I think it's so interesting to see how much of a jump and how trends are so real. Like to go from in 2 months to go from less than 100,000 views to almost 1.5 million views. And then for that same number to drop back down to about 400,000 views. It's so crazy.
It would.
No, you're speaking.
It just would be like kind of amazing to distribute effort to match like need. You know, like if there was some better way to match people's editing either towards the things that are being most consumed or the things that are being least consumed that maybe should garner more attention. I mean, that's one of the, I guess, conflicts in this open source thing is there's no guaranteed fit, right, between like what people are really interested in writing about and what people are really interested in reading. And sometimes that's probably a good thing, sometimes that's probably a really
Oh,
in Google Sheets, did you do insert to insert CSV file?
Sorry, say one more time.
In Google Sheets, do you do insert to insert CSV file? Or
if upload it and then go to open with Google Sheets, it should reformat it as like a Google Sheets thing instead of.
Oh, upload it to the drive, I see.
Yeah, if you put it in the drive, yeah. Once it's in Drive, then Google Sheets treats CSV file the same as an Excel file format.
It's crazy. Daily average of views for Solastasia is 55 people. I expect it to be much more than that.
Sorry.
I'm having some trouble here because I went and changed my dates to like from 2015 to now,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just the things themselves, the words that I'm using, but there seems to be a lot of activity, a huge amount of activity, which is skewing it so much in 2015, and then it just flatlines for the next 5 years. And I'm not quite sure.
I mean, I wonder if that's like, you know, the terms get invented, they go on BuzzFeed and Vox, and people start editing about them, and then I don't know, nothing. Until you pick it back up and say Greta Thunberg shouldn't be on this page.
But it's almost like it's at 0. That's what I don't understand. It's almost like there's an error where daily views were 100 in 2015, and 2020 it's 0 for all of the articles.
Maybe the views are now separated with eco-anxiety and eco-grief, and that's kind of spreading the fan club, the cursed minds thinner across different pages.
Don't know.
I'm now comparing Donald Trump to Joe Biden.
Oh, Rebecca.
Oh.
I think it's interesting I'm looking at all the page, the chart types for Pew's, and in April, there's a lot more views as well. I wonder if just everyone was just on the internet in April.
Yeah. We saw somewhere in one of our charts too, like if you keep playing with that tool, you can also switch to see if people are looking from desktops or mobile or from a mobile app. And I don't know.
Okay, the platform, right? Mobile app or mobile web or desktop.
If you can kind of.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You can just see the peak sometimes too, like at the beginning of lockdowns, where it seems like people are also more on their cell phones than they are on their computers. They're like in bed at home looking at Wikipedia. We found somewhere though, it looked like the app crashed, I think in June or something. And there's like similar to Danny's phenomenon. There's just like 0 or relatively few views for a lot of the pages in June on the mobile app.
On the page views under user, or sorry, under agent, excuse me, you can click user or spider or automated. What is spider?
Wait, isn't it just a type of?
No, there are like, I think the spider means that it like shows up in Google. So there's basically
it's
that are
web
going on the
crawlers
internet and trying to get all the information to put them on search engines, and I think that's what the spider one. Then it's automated removes search engine, but it's any other bots. So like Wikipedia maintains its own bots, and there's all kinds of people who are harvesting data from Wikipedia too. So there's other bots that are doing that. That's what automated is. So if you want to get a sense of like how many humans are looking at your page as opposed to how many humans plus algorithms, then you could go to user. And I think user is like there's probably a person who's whose eyes are behind the screen looking at it.
Guys, are you like, should we go look into the drive and see what you have done, or do you need a little bit more time? And also, Danny, how much time left do we have?
I think we can start wrapping up. Unless there's anything else we're missing, I think this is fun. I just, again, it comes to the questions of how do I say it? Like how it kind of all helps us individually in what we're doing. And I think just digging into everyone's personal topics, it's really interesting. I find the way that you have to almost manipulate the page view analysis to tell a story. There's some subjectivity in that. So I'm just curious about the stories which everyone wants to tell. Because for me, it's like when these words came about and when they were actually starting to be used, I can actually see that in 2 years ago, all these pages started existing. So that's a story I kind of want to tell. But I'm curious, if it's Anna, if you can somehow like chart the revisions and see the back and forth battle. I don't know, like I would encourage everybody to think about whatever that narrative is and how you best visualize or communicate that.
Yeah, totally. We were thinking that there ideally would be 3 outputs from everyone from the lab, and one would just be the spreadsheet of your pages, the other would be the graph of your pages. But then the third thing, if everyone does know OBS Studio from the first satellite lab or picking it up along the way in other ones, it'd be super amazing to just like create a scene, record yourself telling the story, include some of the charts, flip through some of the pages, really whatever kind of supporting evidence you would like to bring, but there would be a kind of storyboard or narrative device to tell what your engagement with these topics has been, whether it's been intimidating, whether there's a hotly contested debate, whether you went down a rabbit hole and had to jump back out of it, whether you're learning something from the page views or the editing process. It'd be really amazing to just get like short 1 or 2 minute videos that just kind of sticks all of this stuff together. Having all that stuff uploaded to this Drive folder would be really cool. We could work to stitch it together into something that's a collective document.
Yeah. And
Can
if
you repeat? Oh, sorry. Can you repeat those 3 things? You said 3 things. Okay, thanks.
If you use the charts we just went over, it'd be amazing to have an image of that. It'd be really cool also to have the actual data that makes up that chart. So the CSV file format that you can also download. So 1 PNG, 1 CSV. And then the last thing, I think, Michelle, this is the only lab you've joined, but I think some of the other people have learned this software called OBS Studio. It's totally free, and it's just mostly used by gamers and stuff, but you can just record yourself a presentation and also put other media types in there, really anything. You can put images, you can put GIFs, you can put videos, you can put sound recordings. So that's what we
have an awesome tutorial that we put together for it.
And there you go. You can do the satellite labs in reverse order or in like a loop, 5 to 1 to 2. So maybe Danny can share that stuff with you. But yeah, it'd be cool if everyone could kind of just record a little video or something that tells their story of engaging with this process of sharing.
I try writing the acronyms, are they all wrong?
Is it great?
Yeah, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm trying to send those 3 steps in the chat. I don't know if it will land. It's weirdly like light gray instead of black. But yeah, if you could share basically the image, the table, right, the chart and the numbers, and if you also want to make a little video file of your impression, that would be super cool for us to have, and you all have access to the Google Drive folder. We are seeing that some of it is already landing, but it seems like we're running out of time, so we won't be able to pin up today. But we will be looking at it, and we can talk about it on the Discord channel
Yeah.
as well.
I think the like fourth and final thing is not a thing to do, but it's more of just a activity or mindset to embody. I've already heard, Rebecca say she's going to engage with Wikipedia very differently, and Danny's in clearly a rabbit hole of eco anxiety and eco relief. So like, I guess the fourth thing is just to continue to play with Wikipedia. We have the stats tracking, so any other edits you find yourself making, we'll be able to see for the rest of the month of August. So just have at it. And I guess that's kind of an open invitation too, to do more of these kind of things. We find it works best to edit Wikipedia with other people and to have a kind of shared intent. If something comes out of that, or if there's a kind of project you can imagine where we could add a kind of collective effort towards a Wikipedia editing collective, let us know. We're looking forward to it. This has been really fun.
Yeah, you know where to find us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Thank you for having us, Space Bloom, and
Thanks,
congratulations
guys.
for everyone.
That was super.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys.
Thank
I
you.
just want to say, I think it was a very engaging workshop, personally. And I know we didn't have the greatest attendance, but I think it was a nice group. So thank you everybody for attending and participating, and hopefully we see those edits coming through the month of August.
Yeah. Amazing. I agree.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Really nice seeing you again and meeting you online. Yeah, really great time.
Yeah, I had really great. I'm super grateful for you guys doing it and for free, spending your time. It makes me feel more alive.
Well, we were so happy to see you. We like on Monday, the first thing we said when we saw the computer was like, "Oh, so cool! Anna's here."
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was really cool. Yeah, almost as cool as drinking beers in the desert. Really close second here. Close second. So yeah, good to see you all, guys. Good to meet you. See you again. Whatever.
Yeah. Hope to see you all soon.
Okay, is there? I wanted to ask Danny and Rebecca. Are you thinking like a next steps, or are you just gonna wait for next summer? Or
so she wants this.
Where I think you should follow the website, the Satellite Lab section, because we've been uploading all the videos and tutorials there. We're still talking about what we do with the summer and everything that we've accumulated, and where this goes. We originally had the intention to turn it into some sort of, exhibition or submit it to publications. They're all open questions right now, but I think just the resources, just share them. Everyone's put a lot of work into the summer, both in putting together the workshops and participating. So if anything's of use, just share it, tag us, tag the workshop leaders, tag whatever.
And curious, you said there is another path where there's artisan residency doing similar things, I guess.
Yeah, so like for example, Lucy, Nick, and Kelsey, they started at the beginning of the summer with us working on some Spaceland projects. We have a few things, including the festivals, which are in the works, and just there's been a lot of research and design work towards that. So they've been helping a lot with that.
You're welcome to join. We have like a final wrap up for the fellows next Wednesday. If you want to join, you're welcome. I think we'll post on the Discord. It's sort of like the conclusion of all the in-between work. Yeah.
Cool. I would like to see that, what you guys did.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say, except for we're just, personally, I'm happy to have it end in a way, just to sit back and reflect on what happened, right? Because we've been so in it the whole summer. So come and ask me those questions in a month, and I'll have a better answer.
Guys, I'm just reading the talk section of Donald Trump's page. It is fascinating.
Yeah, we looked at the page views for Kamala Harris, and they
Just
skyrocketed
in the last 7 days. Like it's just like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also looked at like views. Okay, this was rabbit hole, but I looked at views, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, the other like Mike Pence, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump had like so many spider views. All of them were spider views.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Anna, I will send that link in the chat box. There is a page of the like highest ranked pages, like highest viewed pages on Wikipedia. And of course, like number one is the main page and then the search page. But then, I think Donald Trump is like,
he's up there.
United States is number one. That's an actual like page, article. Donald Trump is the second most viewed article, and then Barack Obama, India, World War II is fifth. Sex is 13, right after Adolf Hitler. So fascinating. Check the page view.
On that note,
Yeah.
we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Ciao, guys. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.